Happy holidays, everyone. I'm Chef AJ and welcome to my kitchen. You know, I got so many kind emails from so many of you thanking me for the delicious recipes from the Thanksgiving webinar that I decided to do a brand new one just for you with all brand new recipes. I have a feeling that you're going to love these recipes, so will your family. They're absolutely delicious. They're not only vegan, but they're unprocessed, whole food, plant-based. They're all gluten-free, and they're free of all what I call SOFAs: sugar, oil, flour, alcohol, and salt. And I think you're going to really like them. They're perfect for the holiday or really any time of year that you can find the ingredients. Because you signed up for this webinar, you're going to get the written recipes. So I'm not going to say the exact measurements while I'm doing the recipes. It's just a little easier that way. We're going to be making a mocktail, a cranberry spritzer, sweet potato holiday stacks with a cherry, perry, and cranberry sauce, and a Christmas kale salad, which really you could eat any time of year, but I just called it that for the holidays, and something I'm really proud of, a lemon meringue pie. So let's get started. First, we're going to make the cranberry relish. This is a little bit different than my previous cranberry sauces that were in my book Unprocessed and the Secrets to Ultimate Weight Loss, because it uses two new flavors, cherries and ginger, which make it absolutely delicious. So of course we're going to start with some cranberries. These are fresh, raw, organic cranberries. And you know, they're very, very tart, so that's why we have to put things in to sweeten them. Now, traditionally, cranberry sauce or relish has a lot of sugar, at least a cup from the recipes I've looked at, and can take a long time to cook on the stove, but these raw relishes come together in no time. We've got my roasted pears right here, and these are just delicious. They're not quite as sweet as if you were to use dried fruit like dates, but the roasting brings out the natural sweetness. But before I add them, I'm just going to pulse these just a little bit to break them up. I'm using the 14-cup Cuisinart that I got at Costco on sale for $99, and it's often on sale actually, and it's fitted with what's known as the S-blade. Now I'm going to add my roasted pears, and this will give it the sweetness that I usually use dates for, so I'm going to process it again. You could ostensibly throw everything in at once, but I like to make sure that everything gets incorporated. I've got one orange, and I'm using a Caracara orange just because I really like them. A blood orange would work fine. They tend to often be a little bit sweeter. And I am also going to use the zest of the orange. It's organic, so I'm not going to worry. Now, I get my zest off. That sounds funny, I get my zest off using something called a zester. This is a Pampered Chef one, and I like it better than the microplane because I really like these long shreds. And the way I get my orange peeled is using this really cool 99-cent tool that I got either from Pampered Chef or Tupperware. So I know I've done videos where I've showed you how to use both. So now I'm going to add my orange and my orange zest. And my two new or secret ingredients, cherries. These are organic dark sweet cherries that were frozen and defrosted, and you can see there's a little bit of liquid in them, which is why I decided to add 2 tablespoons of chia seeds for a natural thickener. And a little surprise ingredient, some fresh ginger. About the size of the first digit of my thumb. Every time I get ginger, I peel it, I cut it into little cubes, and I freeze it, so I always have it for recipes. Now, this will thicken as it sets up, and the cherries not only provide a delicious sweet flavor, but also it makes it even a more beautiful color. So I'm just going to pour it into my bowl, and even though we're going to use this in the holiday recipe called my holiday sweet potato stacks, this is such a delicious cranberry sauce that I know that you would want to make it all year round. So there we have it, easy, delicious, all whole natural ingredients, no need for cooking, no need for sugar. I would venture to say this might be one of the best cranberry sauces you ever taste. And again, this is my brand new Cherry Perry cranberry sauce. So now I'm going to show you how to make a mocktail that I call cranberry spritzer. I know a lot of people sometimes feel left out if they're following a healthy eating plan during the holidays while everybody is indulging, or should I say overindulging, in food and drink. So this is really yummy, and it'll feel like you're having something special, so you won't suffer from what a lot of people call FOMO, fear of missing out. So in my high-speed blender, I have some spice cider, and this is completely sugar-free. It's just unfiltered apple juice with some spices like cloves and cinnamon. You can get it at Trader Joe's and Whole Foods and pretty much any natural food stores, even some regular grocery stores actually. And then I have my fresh raw cranberries and a little bit of lime juice, and I'm going to blend this up. Close your ears, this might be a bit noisy. It's such a pretty color, and it smells good. So now I'm going to pour it evenly into 2 glasses so that Charles and I can toast you to the new year. Actually, there's numbers on the side. I could have done this easier just by looking at it, but there we go. And then I'm going to put a little sparkling water in it to make it fun and festive. Beautiful. Look at that. So, to your health. I feel like a real grown-up. So now I'm going to show you how to make the entree. They are holiday sweet potato stacks, but if you eat them at a different time other than the holidays, then they're just sweet potato stacks. The first thing you want to do is mash your sweet potatoes. To do that first, you have to cook them. So what I like to do is use the 8-quart Instant Pot electric pressure cooker and use one of these cool baskets. You can find this in my Amazon store. And I cook the sweet potatoes that way for about 10 minutes at high pressure with a couple of cups of water. One's usually enough in the Instant Pot. I peel them first. Now, normally when I want to eat sweet potatoes just to eat them for pleasure or for hunger, I roast them because that brings out the natural sweetness, and that's how I enjoy them most. And of course, the skin is certainly edible. There's a lot of fiber and nutrients in it. I recommend organic. But for mashing, we're not going to use the skin, and so I do peel them, and then I just steam them in the Instant Pot for 10 minutes at high pressure, let them cook, drink the water. It's delicious. It's like nectar. But I do them separately. I do the white ones and the orange ones separately so that the colors don't mix for this particular recipe. And you could actually cook them any way you like, but that to me is just the easiest because I'm just going to mash them. You really don't need any other ingredients to make mashed sweet potatoes. Here I have the Hannah yam. I'm going to show you what they look like. Hannah yams are sort of beige on the outside, and if you go like this with your fingernail, you can see they're white on the inside. I say that because there are some orange sweet potatoes that actually have this color on the outside, and they do not look or taste like Hannah yams. If you want, is you can buy frozen sweet potatoes at Trader Joe's with literally nothing but sweet potatoes. These are mashed, so if you didn't want to cook them yourself, you could save a step right there. The orange ones mash up just really easily. You don't need to add anything. They pretty much are so soft when they come out of the pressure cooker, they end up like this. If you did want to mash them, I would add maybe a little bit of orange juice if you want them sweeter, or a little bit of unsweetened non-dairy milk. The texture of the Hannah yams, by the way, it's unparalleled in taste, and if you can't get them where you live, I would really recommend you consider ordering them online. You simply have to Google where to buy Hannah yams. They even sell them on Amazon. They are my all-time favorite sweet potato, but their texture is more like a white potato, more like a Yukon Gold. So you might have to add a little bit of non-dairy milk to get them to be nice and soft. And I'm just using a little potato masher from Bed Bath & Beyond. But really, you don't need to add anything to these. Now, if you absolutely cannot get Hannah yams and don't want to get them online, you can just use a Yukon Gold or a russet. just because we want to have different colors. I really wanted to get the purple Stokes, and I wanted to do a triple stack. I thought that would be beautiful, but I couldn't find them at this time of year. So what we're going to do is we have right here on a plate something called the Stackable Gourmet. You can get it at stackablegourmet.com. If you don't want to get this, all you have to do is take a can, happen to be some pears, and open both ends. You can totally do stacked meals with a can and keep doing it. But I really like these because I can see through them and I know how much to add. So when you cook your potatoes, it doesn't matter how many pounds, because if there's leftover, you eat them, just the same amount. And so what you're going to do is you're just going to take an equal amount, whatever that amount is, in all of these. And you can do this on the individual serving plate for each person that's going to be eating. And this actually comes with 4 in the set. I just have 3 here because that's what fits on the plate. So I've got an equal amount of my first layer, and I take my little pushy tool and I press it down. Actually, I think I need a little bit more. So I'm going to do 4 scoops because I want it to be 2 layers. Stacked food is so delicious. I've used this to make layered frozen ice cream cakes in one of my videos, and it's just really an elegant presentation. So there I've got my first layer, and now I'm going to put my cranberry. I'm not going to put quite as much as I did of the sweet potatoes because it's just too sweet, I think, if you put too much, but I just want it to go on top. So I did 4 scoops of the sweet potato. I'm doing 2 scoops of the cherry peri relish. And I'm going to push that on top now. Oh, it smells so good. That's very easy. If you were to do this with a can, you'd probably need some kind of a knife. And now my next layer is my delicious mashed Hannah yams. 2, 3, I'll put the same amount as I did the orange. This is so good. I'm not just saying that, it is. It's one of the best things I've ever eaten. It's almost like having dessert for dinner, but it's starch, so it's not like eating dessert. No starch, no satiety. You cannot gain weight eating starch. I got an email from Dr. McDougall recently talking about de novo lipogenesis. You cannot get fat eating potatoes. You can get thin eating potatoes and sweet potatoes. So here we go. And now I'm going to press this down. If you want to be fancy, you can rinse this in between, but nobody's really going to see the little bit of cranberry on top. Okay. Any gaps, you can just fill in with more potato. It's not an exact science. This is not a weighing and measuring program. This is an all-you-can-eat of the right foods program, because when you truly understand what to eat, whole food, plant-based, no oil, little or no sugar, salt, then it doesn't matter when you eat, why you eat, or how much you eat. And so now, one more layer on top of the cherry peri sauce. And, oh, God, I wish I could eat this right now, but we must wait. Press it down evenly. Boom, oops, got a little on the plate. Oh, cranberries are so good. There we go. Let me just get that off the plate. Oh, well, I luckily have some paper towels down here. I want it to look really pretty. When I was a pastry chef at Sante Restaurant, I wasn't the one that plated the desserts. I made them, but there was a special person that just did the plating. White plates are so beautiful. This is from Williams-Sonoma. It's a present from Dr. Steve Lewenda, actually, a housewarming present. He got me a whole set of plates. So now, you ready for the big reveal? Dun, da, 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 da. 1, 2, oh my God, 3. You know, I have a recipe in my book, The Secrets to Ultimate Weight Loss, using this tool. I call it the McDougall Goldhammer Cauliflower Risotto Sweet Potato Stacks. Now, doesn't that look incredible? Easy to make, beautiful, healthy, and delicious. holiday sweet potato stacks. If you don't want to get the tool, you can always use a can. I know you are going to love this. So now I'm going to show you how to make the Christmas kale salad. It's so good you're going to want to eat it all year round, not just at Christmas. The reason I call it Christmas is because I cut the bell peppers really small, so the idea is against the greens it looks like Christmas lights. So in my bowl I happen to have organic arugula. It says Christmas kale salad because you could just as easily use baby kale, which is how I created the recipe. Baby kale and organic arugula look almost identical. The reason I would go with baby kale is because people that aren't yet used to eating greens often don't like the bitterness, which is an acquired taste, but very good for you because it's actually that bitterness from the thylakoids, those compounds that actually turn off the hunger switch, stop the cravings for sweets. So you might want to graduate to arugula, use the baby kale, or even spinach if you're not used to greens. But the idea is to use something greens to get in these great low calorie density, high nutrient density vegetables by any greens necessary. So I use this really cool tool. You can get it at Bed Bath & Beyond or in my Amazon store. It's called the Vidalia Chop Wizard, and it has different sized grates. And I love to cut things small because they're pretty and they're just easier to eat. So I have 3 colors of bell pepper, red, yellow, and orange. Don't use green. Green does not taste good in my opinion. They're not ripe and they often give you indigestion. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put the bell pepper on top of the greens, and see, this is the idea, is I thought that this would look like little Christmas lights, the red, yellow, and green. Excuse me, not red, yellow, green, that's a stop sign, red, yellow, and orange. See, so look kind of like Christmassy, and I'm going to put more on the top. Now, the dressing is unbelievably simple, and it's now my new favorite recipe. I eat it on greens every day. I'm getting in so many more raw greens because I love this dressing. Easy to make, slightly tangy, slightly sweet, perfect. It's my lemon poppy seed dressing. So in my high-speed blender, I have some water. I'm going to add some lemon juice. Fresh is best. I happen to be using bottled organic. If you do that, then you can always add the zest. I've got some medjool dates, pitted of course. Look at this cute little glass. This is from the Union Pacific Railroad. This was from a dining car. This is Railroadiana. This is railroad memorabilia. My mom used to collect it. It's the only thing I have left of the collection. I've got my salt-free Westbury mustard, and I've got my chia seeds and my poppy seeds. The chia seeds are for thickening. So I am going to now blend it in my blender. Let's make sure that we've got all the dates blended. Yep. And of course this will thicken in the fridge because that's what chia seeds do, but we're not going to wait for that to happen. I'm going to actually massage it. It just really helps break down those greens, and it just makes it a lot more tender and easier to eat when you massage your greens. Even though I'm eating this, I'm still using food service gloves, but because in case somebody else were eating it, they probably wouldn't want my hands on it. Make sure if you do use food service gloves, you use latex free. Every now and then you get somebody with a latex allergy. I have really fond memories of poppy seed dressing when I was little. We used to go to the tea room at a store called Bullock's, which then is now Macy's, and get a salad with fruit and a poppy seed dressing. So I have a very fond memory of it. Of course, it contained a lot of sugar and oil. So I'm just going to pour it over the top. You know, I like to go light in my dressing. You can always add dressing, but you can't take it away. So I'm just going to massage it. And of course, you can feel free to add, more bell pepper, less bell pepper, but when you serve it on the plate to your guests, make sure that you put the bell peppers on top so that they can see how pretty it is. And oh, this is so good. I had company today for lunch, and we had it for lunch, and it's so easy to make, it's so simple, and it's simply delicious. And there you have it. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. It'll look, of course, prettier when I plate it on the plate, and you can see by massaging it, it's like less volume. So here we have our Christmas kale salad, even though it's arugula, with a lemon poppy seed dressing. I know you're going to enjoy this. So now, the perfect dessert accompaniment to any meal, the pièce de résistance, as they say in French. lemon meringue pie. I am so proud of this recipe. You know, I was a pastry chef for 5 years at Sante Restaurant on La Brea in Los Angeles, and I was famous for my vegan desserts. It wasn't even a vegan restaurant because they didn't have gluten, they didn't have any refined sugar. I used the fruit, the whole fruit, and nothing but the whole fruit, so help me God. Dates, but sometimes other fruits. I didn't use any oil. Sometimes I did use nuts and seeds. I did not use any salt, and except for one cake, the German chocolate cake that was created out of a request from Dr. Hans Diehl, I didn't even use any flour. But I never made lemon meringue pie there. They never asked for it, but I was thinking, you know, it's traditional, of course, at Thanksgiving and Christmas to have pumpkin pie, and I certainly can do that. There's a recipe for a very similar one called butterscotch pie on my YouTube channel, but I felt since we had orange sweet potatoes as our entree, it would be a little bit overkill to have pumpkin pie for dessert. And lemon is so refreshing, and I think you're really going to love this. And it's pretty easy to make. It's done in 3 stages: the crust, the filling, and the topping. So as always, first we will make the crust using a dry food processor. Very important that it not be wet, fitted with the S-blade. This is a 14-cup Cuisinart. Again, I always recommend get the largest you can afford. You can't really do justice to most recipes, especially mine, in small pressure cookers and small, you know, blenders and small food processors. So get the bigger ones. 2 cups of rolled oats. These are gluten-free. I'm putting them in the food processor, and I'm going to process them into an almost flour-like consistency. We don't have to go completely to a flour. I like when there's a little bit of texture. That's good. You can see it's not completely into a flour. There's some larger pieces, and that's absolutely fine. And now we're going to add the dates. Make sure they're pitted. You don't want to damage your blade. And we're going to put these in the food processor with the oats. That's just it. 2 ingredients, dates and oats, just like on my butterscotch pie. Now this is going to have to run probably for at least 2 minutes, maybe 5, and it would be kind of boring and noisy. So I'm going to keep letting it process until it's done, and then I'm going to show you what it looks like. You know it's done when you don't see the oats anymore, where basically it's like a ball. It actually will form a ball. So let me do this, and we'll come right back. So I don't know if you can see through this, but it started to slow down. That was about 3.5 minutes. How long this takes is going to depend on the size of your food processor and the quality, how strong the motor is. But this took about 3.5 minutes, and you can see that it's more together. And the way I know it's ready is that I can squeeze it together and it stays. I can break it apart, and then and only then do I add my lemon juice. You don't want to do that too soon, because if you add liquids, it won't process correctly. And then there is my crust. And actually, you could just eat this. You could roll this into little balls. These would be like cookie dough, honestly, like lemon cookie dough. Absolutely delicious. Just to do that. I'll show you how to do that. It would be an amazing treat. You could even bake them, but you don't have to. It'd be kind of like a Lara bar. You could literally just serve these as cookie dough balls. So what you're going to do with a clean hand, you may have to wet it. I'm using a traditional pie plate. I'm just going to work the crust so that it's on the bottom and on the sides. And you know, if you want to get really fancy, you can get one of those little tart pans where the bottom comes out and there's like a fluted edge. You could certainly do that. I was thinking of doing that. I could not find mine, but this will work just fine. But you do want to press the crust up the edges. This is plenty of crust. It's very sweet, so you don't have to worry about that. It may seem like it won't be sweet, but I promise you it is, even with the lemon juice. So I like to use my thumbs. That's why we have opposable thumbs, so that we can make pie crust. And push it up to the side. You could also get individual tart pans and do that, whether they have the bottoms that come up or not. That would be nice for single serving. People do love to have individual desserts. So you just kind of keep working it, pressing it. You no need to cook this. This is an uncooked or raw crust, very easy to make with ingredients that many people, at least that I always have in my house. So even for a last minute dessert, you could even just slice some berries and just serve this as a pie if you wanted. It would be delicious. So there we have our beautiful pie crust. I'll come right back and show you how to make the filling. So now let me show you how to make this easy and delicious lemon meringue filling. So I have my Hannah yams in my bowl with a little bit of unsweetened non-dairy milk and a simple potato masher. And I'm going to start the mashing process here. I am going to process this to a very smooth and creamy texture in the food processor, but I find that sometimes when I add the other ingredients, the potatoes, it's just too much for this particular food processor. If you have, you know, a really strong one like a RoboCoupe, you can certainly do that, but I'd like to get it started. Now I know what some of you are saying, is there any substitute for Hannah yams? I'm sorry guys, there's not. In my dessert recipes like my eggnog, my banana cream pie, and now my lemon meringue pie, there is no substitutes. Trust me, I tried. If there was, I would pass it on to you. It's not just the flavor of the Hannah yam that is unparalleled in dessert recipes, but it's also the texture, because it's not mushy like the orange ones or dry like the Hawaiian ones and the Stokes can sometimes be. It's just literally the perfect texture without having to add any thickeners or stabilizers. And it has a very slight vanilla flavor, but also when I'm making lemon meringue pie or banana cream pie, I want it yellow because we eat with our eyes and we expect things to taste a certain way, and there is no other sweet potato or potato that turns yellow when you're making it into a dessert. And so go to the trouble of getting these online if you have to. Amazon has them, lots of different places sell them. They are my absolute, if I could live on one food, or if I not could, I actually did for a while when I had some digestive issues many years ago, but if I could only have one potato the rest of my life, it would be the Hannah yam. And Hannah yams, roasted, and broccoli are my favorite meal in the whole world. And you also want to make sure when you're doing dessert recipes to roast them. They do not come out the same if you microwave them or bake them or use the pressure cooker. Those are great ways to cook food in general, but not sweet potatoes. Sweet potatoes have to be roasted. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put these mashed Hannah yams in my large food processor that's fitted with the S-Blade for further processing to make it creamy and delicious. I mean, you could just eat this for dessert. That's how good Hannah yams are. They really don't need much sweetening. You know, I know like some people like to try to substitute the Japanese. Those are great potatoes, but they don't taste the same. They're often a little bit more sickly sweet. This is the perfect potato for dessert recipes. Now I'm going to add my lemon juice and my date paste. I'm using the recipe on page 60 from my book Unprocessed. It's important if you're doing my recipes to use my date paste recipe, because the ratio of water to dates is going to be very important as to whether or not your pie sets up. So we put everything in the food processor and we process. It's always a good idea at some point to turn it off and to scrape the sides down. You can see it's already getting nice and creamy. You can really smell the lemon. Wow, it's like a burst of lemon. I'm going to just process it a little bit longer. And that looks really good. And now we're going to take our creamy lemon filling and pour it or scrape it into our crust. You know, when I took home economics in 7th grade in 1971, we actually made lemon meringue pie, and it was quite an ordeal with the cream of tartar and the, you know, the beating of the egg whites. So I've taught you this trick before, but once again, there's a lot of great filling on the blade. To make it easy to clean the blade, we just put the lid back on, pulse it for just a second, and voila, no more filling on the blade. And look at how much filling we would have wasted if we hadn't done that. Looks like almost a full cup. So we can go like that. I wish I could find my offset spatula. That's my favorite tool to make desserts, but I don't know where it is since I moved. They're not that expensive. They're like $8. I gotta go get one. So there we have it. And now we have our beautiful filling. So all that's left is the meringue topping. So now I'm going to show you how to make the topping. In my high-speed blender, I have some gluten-free rolled oats. I'm going to add some pears. Now, a lot of people complain because I said get the jarred pears from Trader Joe's. I just happen to love them because they're in glass, and I reuse the glass. I make my salad dressings as gifts for people. My barefoot dressing, my strawberry fiesta dressing, my new lemon poppy seed dressing, and I love to gift them in these beautiful jars. If you don't have a Trader Joe's, no problem. Every store in the United States has pears that's not in heavy syrup or light syrup, that are just in either grape juice or fruit juice concentrate. We're going to drain that off anyway and just use the pears. Using fresh pears are problematic because they're just not always sweet. They're not always ripe. They're not always in season. They're often very hard. You would probably have to roast them, and you can do that. It's probably better than not using pears, but you know, why not just go simple? This is from the local Winco. I've seen these at every store I've ever been to, pears in their own juice or in natural juice. So we're just going to add those to the blender, drained. There was a little bit of liquid in there, but that's okay. We're going to add our lemon juice and vanilla powder. You can get this in my Amazon store. You just want to make sure you get one that is literally just ground vanilla beans. I don't use vanilla extract because it either has sugar in the form of glycerin or sugar or alcohol or both, and this is much better anyway. A little goes a long way. So now we're going to blend it up. And this is a delicious whipped topping for fruit, for lots of other things. If you want it thicker, you can add some chia seeds, but please don't add the black ones. We tried that once and it wasn't very attractive. You can get white chia seeds. I just didn't have any, but that will make it thicker. Oh wow, this is so good. You know, so many people make whipped toppings out of soy. Not that there's anything wrong with soy, it's just very high in fat, or coconut, which is also very high in fat, but this is just delicious. You can put this on just about everything. And we do. You really do need that vanilla powder though, because you don't want it, I mean, there's nothing wrong with the taste of pears, but we're not trying to get it to taste like pears. Pears are very neutral. Look at that. So now you can decorate it any way you want. I probably wouldn't use cranberries because they're not sweet enough. If you can do a little saturated fat, coconut would look very pretty on here. Either plain white raw coconut, which you can actually get low fat now. It's mostly defatted in my Amazon store, or you could toast it if you want that look. I think if you had a zester, you could put some lemon zest on top to indicate what it was, but 'tis the season of pomegranates. So what I just like to do, because they're so pretty and they're very tasty and they go great with lemon meringue pie, is I just sprinkle a few pomegranate seeds on the top. It makes it look festive, and we're lucky that Trader Joe's sells pomegranate seeds, fresh ones, all year, because I'm just too lazy to open a pomegranate myself and do that trick that I've seen people do where you tap it and put it in water. So anyway, there we have it. I promise you that you will love this. You want to make sure when you slice it, you know, the first slice always out of a dessert has to be a fairly large one so that you can keep the integrity of it. And when you eat it, make sure that you get a little bit of everything in every bite. So you don't want to just eat the filling or the crust or the topping. You want every bite in every bite, every layer in every bite, so you can really taste the symphony of flavors, and probably the world's healthiest and easiest sulfate-free, gluten-free, vegan, unprocessed, plant-based lemon meringue pie. I hope you will try this recipe. I hope you'll enjoy it. And I want to wish you and your families and all your loved ones and all your pets a very happy and healthy holiday season. Love and Kale.